Are you confused about your rights under the law? Do you know how serious the consequences are for some things that you might be doing every day? Most teens are not aware of their constitutional rights and don't know the consequences of their actions. I'd like to help with some important information you may not have received from your parents or at school that might just help you graduate without having your mugshot taken. If you're pulled over by the police, the officer will often ask, do you have anything in your car, like drugs or a weapon, any kind of contraband? Most people turn it over to the police right there because they think to themselves, well, if I don't, the cop's just going to search my car anyways. Don't do that. That'll get you in trouble. That'll get you arrested. And if you think the cop is going to give you a break because you're honest, you are sorely mistaken. That's not how it works in the real world. Don't let the cop search your car. He can't without a warrant. And if he threatens to get a warrant, he's full of baloney. Because what's the basis for it? He has to have what's called probable cause. If he threatens to get a drug dog, don't give in to his threats. Don't give in to the police officer's bullying. He's not going to get a drug dog, and he's going to eventually let you go with a traffic ticket unless you surrender your rights. Don't do it. On top of that, even if you don't have anything to hide, you don't know who's been in your car. You don't know what they might have left behind. If they find something in your car, like a pill or a roach or even a leaf of marijuana, they're going to prosecute you. They're going to accuse you of knowingly possessing it, and then you're going to have to spend the time and money to defend yourself. How about at your house? If you're at your house with some friends and a neighbor calls the police and they come and knock on the door, what should you do? Don't answer it. They can't knock down the door. If you simply tell them, officer, there's no problem here, I'm the homeowner, and I'm not answering the door, they can't go get a warrant. They can't do anything. Worst case scenario, they call your parents and tell them that they came to your house and they suspected some kids hanging out there and partying. But that's it. That's all they have, unless you open the door, even if you don't let them in. I've heard so many stories of how somebody opened the door and then the police pushed their way in, and the next thing you know, everybody's given a preliminary breath test, half a dozen people are arrested, people are taken to jail, and now everybody's on probation, and you're given a ticket for hosting a house party. And maybe your parents are too. At school, you don't have any rights. So don't take anything to school that you don't want your teacher, your principal, your guidance counselor to know about. Because they can search your car, your locker, your backpack, and your person anytime, whenever they want. There's no right to privacy in school. If you're under 21 years old, you can't drink. If you do drink, the police are looking for you. So if you're going to drink, don't drive. Stay someplace where it's safe, where you won't have any police contact, and then you won't get in trouble. If you just have one beer and drive your car, you are guilty of drunk driving. It's called zero tolerance. If you have marijuana in your system, even if you smoked it 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, if it's just present in your system, you are guilty of operating under the influence of drugs, and the consequences are the same as drunk driving. It could cost you your license, a lot of money, you're going to be on probation, you're going to be in alcohol and drug counseling, you're going to be doing community service, you could even go to jail. All these consequences can be avoided if you just think before you drink, before you drive, before you decide to use any drugs. The age of consent for sex in Michigan is 16 years old. If you have sexual contact with anybody that's under the age of 16, you can be prosecuted and convicted of criminal sexual conduct, even if you also are under 16. And usually, it'll be the boy that's prosecuted. This means that you will be on probation, you might have to go to juvenile home, and you'll have to register as a sex offender for at least the next 25 years. And once you turn 18, you're on the public registry. That means all your neighbors are going to know about this. And all they see is that you've been convicted. It doesn't show what exactly you did. You'll be surrendering your future, your possibilities of getting a job, going to college, getting student aid, getting an apartment. It'll literally ruin the rest of your life. I've seen it happen before, and it's tragic when it does, because there's some very aggressive prosecutors out there, and they simply don't care and don't think about the consequences of their prosecution and the people that they charge. A lot of kids have cell phones these days and take photographs of themselves. If a girl takes a photograph of herself and she's partially naked and she's less than 18 years old, she's producing child pornography. That's a 20-year felony. Or if you take a picture of your girlfriend, same thing. It carries up to 20 years in prison, up to a $100,000 fine. If you simply send that kind of picture, now you're guilty of distribution of child pornography. That only carries 7 years in prison and a $50,000 fine. Oh yeah, and registration as a sex offender for the rest of your life. And if you simply possess that photograph, let's say you received it but didn't immediately delete it from your phone. Even if you did, there's a record that it was on your phone at one time, so they can prove perhaps that sometime you were in possession of child pornography. That's only 4 years in prison and registration as a sex offender. The bottom line is, when you're sending and receiving these kinds of pictures, you're risking your life. You're risking your freedom. If you use your cell phone to send text messages that somebody could consider to be harassing or annoying or pestering, that too is a crime. And you can be prosecuted for that also. So you need to be careful about the messages that you send and who receives them. Because if they report you to the police, you could have very big problems. Let's talk about social media. If you have a MySpace page or a Facebook account or use Twitter, and you post a message on there that somebody might think is malicious or insulting, you could be prosecuted for a felony that carries up to 2 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. You have to be very careful. So think before you let your fingers do your talking and get you in a lot of trouble.